Welcome to another Nerdporial After Show. I am your host, Brian, the Nerdporial Life Form, a being that calls himself Admiral. 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 And with me is my co-host, Mike, for the second time since he wasn't able to be on last week because apparently something I said, made him change his mind. No, I'm kidding. That didn't happen. He had stuff to
You
do.
didn't pay me enough.
I didn't pay. Yeah, exactly. I didn't pay enough. And for the first time, Spock is on this stream too. Spock.
Hello. It's good to be here. Thanks for the invite, Nerdporial.
No problem. Yeah, you guys have the keys to the kingdom. You guys can come on whenever you want. And
Say
our
hello,
special
chat.
guest star, Nate Knows, 1973. Thank you so much for coming on this particular episode.
And thank you for inviting me.
So yeah, I saw. I mean, I was on Orville Nation's stream with you. I've connected with you on Twitter, and I felt that I wanted you to come on. I heard what you had to say, and I was like, you'd be perfect to come on as a guest star to talk the Orville. So I'm just curious. What was your history with Star Trek, science fiction, the Orville?
Well, in science fiction in general, I actually just told this story recently to a coworker, but I'm going to put it in a nutshell. When I was born, I died. I was dead for 2 minutes and 2 seconds. And as a baby, I was almost 2 years old. And the doctor revived me by shocking me with a paddle. But he told my mother, because my brain was deprived of oxygen for so long, the best that she could hope for is that I could feed myself and learn to use the bathroom. So for a long time growing up, my mother would actually talk to me as if I was a lot younger. But I was hanging out with my brother watching science fiction, Star Trek, Lost in Space, Battlestar Galactica. And one day I asked my mother what was she doing in the kitchen, and she explained to me that she was baking a cake. And she explained that if she was talking to a 3-year-old and I was 9. And when she finished her speech, I said, fascinating. And she sat down in her chair and said, do you even know what that word is? I said, yes, I know that word is. Mr. Spock used it all the time on Star Trek.
That's great. That's
So,
cool.
So if it wasn't for science fiction, I probably wouldn't have developed like I'm supposed to develop.
I can I mean I don't thank you for sharing that. I feel like, part of the reason why I'm interested in, like, learning more and getting and understand and taking appreciation for the arts and history and the pursuit of knowledge is because of science fiction, because of shows like Star Trek, movies like Forbidden Planet and
Twilight Zone, Outer
Twilight
Limits.
Zone, Day the Earth Stays Still, all those. Babylon 5. I mean, I could go. I can list them. I can list them forever. So
Dark Matter.
I have not watched Dark Matter. I know Orville
Dude,
Nation, you guys talk about Dark Matter all the time.
You really got to watch Dark Matter. It's a highly underrated show, and if anybody from Netflix is watching, Dark Matter season 4, please.
So that's a space. Is that like a space exploration show, or is there more to it?
That space exploration show is actually a group of pirates and mercenaries in space.
Okay, so something kind of like Firefly. Kind
of. I mean, you actually. I'm not going to spoil it because if you haven't seen the show, I won't spoil it for you. But you really need to watch it. It's on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I have to watch that. I have to watch Farscape. There's a lot of Stargate. Yeah. There's a lot of science fiction. There's a lot.
I just recently started watching Stargate.
Okay.
Because when they first came out, I was working 2 jobs and wasn't able to watch a lot of TV at that time, so I kind of missed the whole Stargate thing. But I'm watching it now and I'm loving it. Another show I just discovered, you can find it on Tubi, which is a free app called Sanctuary.
Sanctuary. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it. I don't know if I think I've heard of it. I'm not sure. So I'll have to check on that. So all right. So I have to ask, how are you guys enjoying the Orville this 3rd season so far? I'll start with Mike.
I'm enjoying it so far, although when we get into this episode, I do have a few things to say about it, but I'll wait till we get into it. And
okay, yeah, they'll be next. We'll get into it right after this. So, what about you, Spock?
It is a breath of fresh air, to put it lightly, but I feel like even that is an understatement because this is just, science fiction at its best.
And what about you, Nate?
I think that Seth MacFarlane won't be remembered because of Family Guy. He will be remembered for the Orville. I think his writing, because he wrote this episode, his writing puts him right up there with Gene Roddenberry, Ray Bradbury, and
Rod Serling.
Robin Sterling.
Amen.
Oh yeah.
I really loved the first episode. I really loved how they followed up on the identity two-parter with Isaac and how the crew feel about what happened, and just the idea of an AI an artificial being committing suicide was something I don't know if I don't know if it's ever been explored in older science fiction. I know they haven't explored it like that in Star Trek. So it was a very interesting concept. So I really loved that first episode. Last week's episode was like it was like Alien, Event Horizon, typical horror stuff where like the characters make dumb mistakes, or they make mistakes that don't that lead to lead to disaster. So
Well, in horror movies, everybody makes a dumb mistake.
yeah, like in this case, they went into that ship without like any like protection. They
Well,
went into
see,
the ship
people
without
keep,
any
but wait, see, as you said, people keep bringing that up, but they
yeah,
have bioscanners, and the
yeah,
bioscanners so that it was clear,
yeah,
and it was only when
mhm,
that module opened did they come out. So,
yeah,
but when they're
yeah.
back over there,
It made me
they have
think
their
of
EV suits.
Yeah, it made me think a little bit of original Star Trek Naked Time, where they go to the planet, but they're still in their environmental suits. But what's his name? Joe. He goes down with Spock. He takes off his glove and he touches the table, and the table there's like that liquid that causes them to go be drunk, and it spreads every time they touch each other. Well, he rubs his nose after that. He rubs his face, and that's where the infection led to. So it was something that just happened because it's like typical. Like it was like it was said on Orville Nation's stream. Like things like that. People people kind of make safety mistakes. Like sometimes they take off their gloves. If you work in a hospital, I worked at a nursing home. You take off your gloves when you're not supposed to, you might get sick. So I mean, and believe me, it sucks wearing gloves all the time. Hands get soggy and everything. So but yeah, I still love the episode. I'm just really curious where they're gonna go with that. I hope they follow that up. I hope they follow up with those evil creatures or something. But
Are they
episode
really evil though? They're just surviving.
It's more instinctive, like that episode we covered with
they're like,
TNG,
"We're gonna come
Geordi
after
transforming.
you."
What was that episode called again? When Geordi transforms into that
Yeah.
translucent creature.
Identity crisis.
They're not
Yeah.
technically evil, it's just like their form of reproduction. We probably might see them again. Maybe. I wouldn't bet on it, though. I think it's one of those mysterious episodes where it's just meant to grab your eye once and then move on.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't
probably.
think so. I think because my theory is that the shadow realm, as the Krill call it, isn't our space. It's another dimension.
Yeah.
It's kind of like something like out of Event Horizon.
It's pretty scary, too.
Pure,
Yeah.
pure evil.
Yeah.
Their
Space
description
with
of
no
it is
stars.
very scary, too. When the Krill were sitting down with Ed Mercer and Kelly describing, it was very scary the way they put it.
I mean, the way it ends, they're like, "We'll be back, and we're gonna come back. This is not over. We're gonna come back for you all."
Do you
Kinda
think
like the
that's
Borg.
all?
They're kind of like the Borg. They wanna spread their perfection onto us. That's what a lot of people.
Now, here's my question on that. Do you guys think that's all we've seen in that sector of space, or is there? That's
no, I'm
just
sure
the
there's a
tip of
lot
the
more.
iceberg. Yeah.
We don't
That's
even
just
know.
the tip
Like,
of the iceberg.
yeah. Oh, sorry, Mike. I'll let you go.
No, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're gonna see a lot more of Dead Space. They're only giving us a little taste.
I mean, we don't even
what
know
to
how they
expect.
left the ship. We don't even know how they left the ship. Did they just
Well, I have a
fly out?
theory
Did
about
they?
that.
Well, I hope you guys are right. I really thought those creatures were cool.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
have a
just
theory
like
about how they left the ship.
okay.
Because they're not humanoid anymore. What if they can collapse their lungs so they can breathe in a vacuum of space and basically just swam out the ship and went to the alien ship?
I could see that. Just like I think it sounds very xenomorphic. I think because I
Wish we also saw more of their ship. I thought it was really cool, the design of it.
yeah, it looked very menacing. Like the whole idea is like the first thing I thought was Star Trek the motion. What if Star Trek the motion picture was a pure horror movie? Because the way they entered
Yeah.
that ship made, or the way the shuttle entered that ship made me think of the giant feature ship with the Enterprise. Uh, but yeah, and there in some ways motion picture kind of was a horror movie, kind of taken after 2001. There were like a lot of unsettling parts of the movie, especially with the transporter, and you had that freaking weird wacky wormhole the wormhole segment with the and then of course you had the
Delay that order.
phaser order, and then you had the probe come in and just like assault the bridge, and then it just kills Lieutenant Ilea. She just vanishes. I mean that was practically like a monster that just aborted, attacked them, and left. So,
Yeah.
but then the rest of the movie, kind of becomes more Gene Roddenberry. But I know we've been talking for 12 minutes without talking about the episode yet. So, are you guys ready? So far, I'm liking this season. It's much better than some other shows that are out there that I stopped watching, like Stranger Worlds, for instance. Um,
Those
and
shows that shall not be named.
exactly. So are we ready to get into this? Before we even do this, I want to say hello to the chat. So we have Phantom Insider here, and we have what does he say? Perhaps their exoskeleton can seal itself, which would allow them a limited oxygen supply and protect them from the rigors of space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got Brandon, the anime guys here. It's our worst nightmare. Brandon, you're going to definitely be back on the show if you can make it. Mark D with the C. What's up? Was the monster on the football field supposed to be a rancor? I thought that I wrote down troll in my notes. We'll get to that.
That thing was spooky. Yeah.
Ruben's here. What's up, Ruben? How you doing? DJ Ronnie G. I think they will revisit these Tron beings. I think so too.
I think she's gonna become their Q.
Yes. The way
We're
she
gonna see light
vanished, she's like,
cycles
we'll,
next
we'll,
time.
we'll meet again. It just made me think of Encounter at Farpoint, where Q's like, I cannot promise they'll never come back. I love how that exchange. So, all right, let's get into this. So I got my notebook here. So let's get going. So scene one, we're in the very first scene, and I'll be honest, the music here, I was hearing Star Trek, I was hearing Star Wars, especially like on Tatooine. There was moments where it sounded like they were on Tatooine, and then there was some Alien. Or when they get into the Mocklin, when they get to that Mocklin morgue, they were Alien. If I'm sure everyone's seen the first Alien, there was some Jerry Goldsmith cues from Alien that that made me think of that. So a lot of so Joel McNeely is really I'm really enjoying his music this season so far. I'm enjoying the Orville music in general. So
I think the music is really great because of its a live orchestra.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's better than the other shows we've been listening to. Heck, even the Star Wars, the Kenobi stuff doesn't even sound.
Please,
They play this
please,
stuff.
please do not bring up that god awful abomination of a show called Kenobi.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching just to see how it ends. So
I don't care how it ends. I dipped out on episode 3. Halfway through episode 3, that's when I dipped. And I actually don't care. And I will not watch anything Star Wars made by Disney ever again.
Don't blame you. Know how you feel.
They broke me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Got Klobby's here too. My gosh, Klobby's here. Wow, I feel
it's clobbering time.
Clobbering times. So
was you hanging out with the Yankee Street Gang?
So let's we start with we see a shuttle flying basically back to the Orville, and Kiali is coming back from shore leave. Apparently she was on Saleya, and she has, I would say, maybe not quite nearly as bad, but similar relationship with her parents that Alara did last season. A little bit better in my opinion. She talks to Kelly. She tells us that they found a quantum signature from the Kalon, and we of course she goes back. She returns to duty, so we get to that. So sets up like, oh, is this going to be a Kalon episode? I was curious. I was curious what they were going to do with that. So, okay, so no comment. Okay, all right.
Oh, I mean, I thought it was definitely going to be a K-Lot episode myself too. Once you mentioned that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just from the trailer too, when we see the ships flying, I thought this was gonna definitely be a Kalon episode.
I thought it was going to be like a K-On trap to get Isaac back or something.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So, we go. We're on the bridge, and we learn that Salayans have their own little chocolate truffles that they make, and because of the high gravity, Salayan chocolate is very. How did Ed put it? Very dense, very dense, very dense. And Boris is like, no.
So it is like French chocolate.
Yeah,
I want some.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to try that. And of course, we get a nice little moment with Boris. Boris is like, "No, I'm on a diet," and we find out that Boris is trying to, is going on shore leave. They're going to the beach. Him and Clyde, and they're going to go to the beach. And it was Gordon. Gordon tells him, because Gordon tells Boris things. He's like, "Hey, I'm trying to slow him down to get the beach bod and all everything." So I thought that was
that was fun.
I thought that was pretty fun
For Clyden too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clyden would approve. So it's 3 episodes in. We still haven't seen Clyden yet. So I know we're going to see in episode 5, because episode 5 is called Tale of Two Topas. So we'll. I don't know if we'll see. I don't know if we're going to see him. I'm curious if we'll see him next week. Probably not likely.
I think he may not be on. Him and Topa may not be on the ship at this point, because he never mentions him. And even when the last episode with the spider creatures, he never went to go check on them or worried about them or even mention them. So I don't think they're on the ship at this point. They may be on Mockless.
Interesting. Well, we'll find out. I guess we'll find out. So, all right. So let's. So we learn that they have narrowband emissions. They pick up narrowband emissions from this planet called Neuron 1. So they set course for it. They're like, what's going on? What's going on there? Everything they know about Neuron 1 is it's a desert planet. But unlike, sorry, I have to bring this up again. Unlike Disney Star Wars, I wasn't annoyed this time seeing a desert planet. So I just had to say, I literally wrote this
because it looked cool. It looked like an actual dune desert.
Yeah, and plus,
I was expecting to see a sandworm.
Yeah, sandworm. There's like nothing. So there's nothing on this planet. So what
it just occurred to me, since it really was a desert planet and they were tripping. At the end, he should have said, "The sleeper has awakened."
Is that from Dune?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Oh my gosh. So they end up they get to the planet and they find life on the planet. They're scanning. There's forests. Initially there were cities. There's like, this is 25th level. This is 25th century level technology development. And so like it seemed like they were picking up Coruscant, for instance. And so they go down to the planet, but it's nothing but woods. So they take the shuttle. They go down. It's nothing but woods. And they end up leaving the shuttle. And they're like, hey, we're picking up humanoids in this direction. Okay, not there, whatever. So they go there. And where do they find? They find the least civilized place in the universe.
High school.
21st century high school. So, and that's where it goes to credits and everything. I was like, first thing I thought was, wait a minute. They're not going to relive a high school. I was like, are they following up the 21st century cell phone chick with now with high school, with like a high school drama, John Hughes type of episode where they have to play it out? For a second, I thought this was going to be like the Royale from TNG, where they were trapped in like a book
it has those elements. It has those elements.
And yeah, like they were trapped in the story and they had to play it out, because that's what it seemed like. So the first thing they do is they go into the school, and then the school seals itself, so they can't leave. They can't leave the school at all. So they try to Tala tries to manhandle or Salayan handle the door. Doesn't work. They use the I forget what they call their hand weapons. They don't call them phasers, but they set their phasers to kill or highest setting, and nothing happens. So they go.
I think they call them blasters. I think.
Oh, like in Star
No,
Wars.
no. Actually, no. They don't. They say weapons. Every single I'm replaying every single time they had a gun in their hand. They said weapons. They call it a weapon. Okay. That's all they say.
Just weapons. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. I'm sure there's a name.
Yeah.
I mean,
even in this episode, when they were ready to go, Tala said,
"Yeah, you're right,
Captain,
you're right."
weapons.
Yeah, and Ed Mercer's always like, "Give me the weapon." Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. So they go around. They start asking. They start asking kids, "Where are we? We're in the hallway. Or when are we? It's what year? What are you, high?" And they walk. The kids walk away.
I like Gordon's response. I might be.
Yeah.
And Bortus and so they split up. They split up because that's the thing to do. So Bortus and Tala walk into a history classroom. They're like hitting the window, and the teacher starts freaking out. He's like, "Get the hell out of the classroom! What are you doing?" And the students are looking like, "What's going on here?" And it just made me think of that teacher that Ray Walston played in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Just for some reason made me think of him. Don't ask me why, because Ray Walston was in Star Trek. He was Boothby and everything. So I thought of his teacher in Fast Times. So while that's going on, Gordon is alone in the hallway, and he gets beaten. He gets pushed into the bathroom, the boys' room.
Yeah, he gets drugged.
He gets beaten up. He gets beaten up by bullies. They're demanding money from him. They're shoving his face in the toilet, and they're kicking him. And he's getting real wounds. So they're like, "Oh, this is not a simulation. This is real." Or if this is a simulation, then the safety protocols are off. So. And they couldn't get in. The thing was, they tried to get into the bathroom. They couldn't get in. So that's what made me think that it was more of a storybook type of deal. And they had to wait for an event to happen or to end to move forward.
I thought Gordon, he's a union trained officer. He couldn't defend himself any better than that.
I guess three teenagers are just too much to handle. I guess he's just a pilot. I guess he's just a pilot.
Well, one of those teenagers was as big as 3 teenagers by himself. Good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, they also did take him by surprise. But you're right. True. He could have fought back. He could have easily fought back.
Yeah, I guess Gordon's not a fighter. He's a lover. Gordon's a lover, not a fighter.
Actually, he's not even a lover either. He's just a pilot.
He's a pilot. Okay, he's a pilot. So they go and they check on him, and let's just say where was I at? So we find out that Gordon has to pay money to Randall by 3:15. So I was thinking, okay, maybe Randall is the key to all this. Maybe Randall's the key to this whole story, the simulation. And
I was expecting a dude with a mullet. I don't know about you guys.
Me too.
like an 80s bully or something, or maybe
wait till we do get what we get.
This was 21st century, so I was like,
Kubiak from Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Yeah,
what we got was completely unexpected.
Royal rules.
So we have so they go to the lunchroom, and they're like, "Hey, can we sit here?" And these mean girls are like, no, they're full. And Bortus doesn't understand. He's like,
this is the funniest part.
We're gonna take these by force. And they're like, no, we'll just go somewhere else. And Bortus looks at her. She's like, what did he say? He's like, you got a 4. He's like,
Gordon came up and whispered something in his ear, and then before he left, he's like, you have a 5 head.
And it wounded her. She was upset.
She's like, oh my god.
And the girl next to her, it's not true.
It's not true.
So I thought that was
actually, she didn't have a lot of forehead there.
So funny, dude.
5.
So funny.
I just loved seeing that. And so they go to this other table, and the kids are actually nicer, probably the more nerdy, more down to earth group, and they're like, "Hey, you have to pay Randall. You have to pay him. He's bad news. Like, we had to do it freshman year, because freshmen are always bullied."
Except that one guy.
Oh
When he
yeah.
blew up
Also, I
on-
just realized going back to that bully scene, pop culture brought up a good point. Gordon is like in his 50s. He can't really like punch a kid.
Well,
Yeah,
true.
you don't punch
That's
kids
true.
at that age, of course. Unless it was an 80s, unless this was an 80s, one of those urban 80s high school movies with gangs and stuff, then you shoot them. If you ever seen The Principal, or if you ever seen the 90s, The Substitute, Tom Berenger, I'll be honest,
yeah.
I love those. I have a guilty pleasure for loving those urban high school violent movies where gangs try to attack
Or
teachers.
Death Wish was what was it? Death Wish 4 was the high school game. In Death Wish 4, I think.
I didn't see Death Wish 4. I've only seen 1, 2, 3, and 5.
I think 4 was the one with the high school game.
Okay.
They were actually the drug dealer was actually using the high school lab to make his drugs.
3 was the best one. That was 1985. That was the one where they take over an entire like neighborhood.
Yeah.
And Charles Bronson has a bazooka. And he shoots the main villain with the bazooka. So it was ridiculous.
Yeah, the 80s.
80s,
yeah, I love
it. Yeah, exactly. So so the bell rings and they go out. They're like, okay, the doors are open, so they're able to leave the school. So they go out of the school. Before that, they find out that this what was his name again?
Randall.
Randall. I had my brain fart. Randall hangs out behind the bleachers. He hangs out behind the bleachers. So okay, so they leave the school and like, we have to go see Randall. And I think Gordon's like, do we really have to see him? Yes. And Boris like, yes, it's the only way forward. He's like, oh God. So they go to the football field and they encounter those same bullies who are, as pop culture said, not very diverse. And they're like, where's Randall? That's Randall. It's a giant CGI troll from like Lord of the Rings or something.
It looked like a half troll, half rancor.
Half troll, or a rancor. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, what is this now? What's going on?
That thing was creepy.
Now, for a second, I thought they were going to do the anime thing, and they were stuck in a video game, like they were stuck in an MMO video game. I was like,
I thought the coolest part was when it came down swinging with the axe. That scene looked pretty sick when its axe hit the ground and they both dodged it.
I loved how they dispatch it. The Tala rips off a bleacher and throws it like a
was sick
into a freaking cheek.
That was cool.
I thought that was cool. Even though it was CGI, but it was cool as hell.
Tala is true to her word. When she first came on that ship, she told Mercer and Kelly, "Someone comes at you, I'm going to mess them up."
Yeah, and that's not technically the brutality you would see on Star Trek either. They would have probably like panned away a bit. Maybe. I think the grossest thing we did get on Star Trek was, I forget his name, the scene where Riker and Picard had to both shoot the guy with the phaser and then his whole face exploded in the creature.
Peaceful coexistence.
Yeah, that one. But nothing like this, where she just rips the bleacher and then throws it in his face and you just see it like impaled. It was really graphic.
Well, that's graphic as New Track.
Which is awesome. It was like seeing like a MMO game, like you said.
Oh, we don't discuss the eye scene. That did not happen. That did not happen in my headcanon. So that didn't happen. As far as I'm concerned, Icheb is still alive, and Seven is not.
We go to our safe place.
All right, so they all right. So in the meantime, the Dr. Finn and security. So in this case, Lamar is in command of the ship. And it made me think of Scotty being command. Like all those times Kirk, Spock, and McCoy would go down to the planet's surface. Scotty would always be the support up there in case something happened. So
he's next in command.
Exactly. So
I actually thought Lamar did pretty good.
Yeah, Lamar
for someone who was kind of a slacker, didn't want to be the one in charge. For his first time taking command of the Orville, I thought he did fine.
Yeah, because usually I remember before, like it was first obviously is Ed, then Kelly, then Bortus is the second officer, and then before that, I think Alara was the was fourth. So in this case, I don't know if that means Tala is above Lamar
No,
when
because
it comes
Cal
to
is a
command.
lieutenant and Lamar is a lieutenant commander.
Oh, he's lieutenant commander now. Okay.
Yeah, check out the shoulders in this season.
Oh, all right.
Because he's
I'll have
chief
to.
engineer. He's lieutenant
Oh,
commander now.
okay. All right. So just like a certain LaForge. So after I think second season he was full lieutenant, then third season he was lieutenant commander. So yeah, almost the same. So it's pretty
Cool to see Lamar though in charge of the Orville this episode.
And I like the way he shut down the whole tit for tat between Charlie and Isaac. It's
Yeah,
like, no time for arguing. This is what we're going to do. Do it. And
Do
Isaac's
it.
like, yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was a cool, like, he was very authoritative in that scene. I liked it because he's like, we can't risk two teams disappearing. I want you guys up here now. Like, that was a sick scene.
It's funny that the Orville, which is still considered by media to be a parody of Star Trek, which
Yeah,
I
that
don't
really
believe it
buries
is.
me.
It's not a parody.
It's
not a
no.
parody.
It's a science
It's an
fiction
homage.
series that is
No,
It's a
because
love letter,
they
dude.
like to put on the lazy excuse that it's copying Star Trek. But it's used. No, it's not. It's you could say that about any crime novel, anything that's based in
Exactly.
detective work.
Mhm.
It's all based off one literary source. That's what the Orville is. It's basing it in like a sitcom in space. It's not at all like Star Trek. So it's not a
no.
parody.
I mean, it's a lot like there's elements of Star
There's
Wars.
Star Trek and Star Wars elements. They even make
Twilight
fun of
Zone.
it by saying "May the Force be with you" in this season. So it's
Yeah.
all just as a joke.
Star Wars is
They're
Star Wars
making-
is a movie in this universe.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if Star Trek: The Motion Picture is also a movie in this universe. Robert Wise is a director in.
Actually, you know what? That would probably be a cool, because you know that in the Orville, they didn't have a catastrophic event like in Star Trek. And they got in contact with, they'll have their World War III, and then you got in contact with the Vulcans after that. What if their society decided to model their society after Star Trek?
That would be. I think that would be great, and Paramount Plus would not be happy.
No, they wouldn't.
Who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah, who cares?
Excuse my language. So that's probably the one time I've sworn on a stream. So
You allow one.
But like Mark says, it's paying an homage, definitely.
yeah,
It's,
I mean,
it's not even an homage. It's a love letter to the
Yeah.
vision of Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah, exactly.
better than anything else.
To
now.
all those writers, all those people who spent hours on those episodes from the original series, and told I'll even count Star Trek Enterprise because that still felt like Star Trek to me as well. But
They even went out of their way. They even went out of their way in Enterprise to try to make it fit in what happened before. Even when the Borg showed up in that one episode, that was kind of into First Contact.
Yeah.
And also the Romulans, like the whole thing with the Romulans. That
Yeah,
was
but the
tricky to
Romulans,
get them in.
I had a real big issue with the Romulans in that episode because they had cloaking device, and the cloaking device was new when Captain Kirk ran into the Romulans. That Romulan ship was the prototype.
Okay, but the one thing that they didn't do is they didn't see the Romulans. At least that was the
True.
thing that I would have probably went crazy. But look who's here! Orville Nation's here.
Hail
PJ
Orville Nation.
himself.
Hail Orville
Welcome.
Nation.
What's up, PJ? My brother from another mother.
Yep. So yeah, I got clobbering times. I got Wakizashi's Tea House. I have Orville Nation now.
It's
Wow,
almost
I
like
feel
in this-
I'm starstruck.
It's almost like in this show though they make fun of the people who call it a parody just by like the things I said by saying "May the Force be with you" and hell, even just a bunch of the iconic references from maybe you've seen from other movies, and I could go on a list about those. But the main thing I think that I love about this show is the music. It really sets the tone really well, and if you don't have the right music, like you see in a lot of new shows, it doesn't really immerse you into the story as well. And there's something to be said about orchestral music. It's just it's you listen to it the first time, you didn't really grasp it. You listen to it again, you just want to keep listening to it over and over and over again. You know.
And the show gives you time to like. There's like moments and scenes where you get to just listen to the music while like in the beginning,
Yeah.
Kiali is walking to the bridge and stuff.
I
You're
think my
watching her, but
favorite
you're
theme,
listening.
I don't know about you guys, my favorite theme in this episode was when Finn was walking in the hallway with the two security officers boarding the shuttle to go down to the planet.
Yeah, I
That
wrote
was a
that. I actually
really good
took
theme.
note of that too. It was very epic. There was like
Yeah,
something. There was
very
something
epic.
very epic about it. I'm like, wow. I never thought Finn would have an epic, moment just walking with
It was
the
sick.
two red shirts. And I'll be honest. I saw those red shirts behind her. We didn't know who they were. I was like, oh no, nothing's gonna happen to them, right?
Nothing
Luckily,
happened.
nothing happened. So I was worried.
But Finn had
They
that
broke.
authoritative walk too. That music was
Yeah.
that he was working that music.
Yes. Yes. So, all right. So let's get back to the episode. So I think we last left off with Randall being this evil or this evil rancor rancor beast. They throw Kiali throws a bleacher at it, hits him in the cheek, and I think they flee.
No, I think it stuck him in the eye.
Yeah, this gets stuck in the eye. And here's the thing. So the creature grabs Gordon, and he starts having you see like his eye change, like his pupils
Like they really
completely
dilate.
vanish.
Yeah, they glaze over.
They glaze over, and you're wondering like what is you're like what does that mean? They're like, I felt like I was out of my body. That's how Gordon describes it. And the throughout the rest of the episode, they all experience that thing. We'll get to why they feel that way, which is basically the main point of why they're going through this experience in the first place. So, oh, and I got to read this. I got a super chat from Orville Nation for $2. Orville Nation, thank you. Boom, that was dope. Yes,
Boom.
Yes.
That was
Thank you, Orville Nation. You are awesome. Everybody, subscribe to PJ Orville Nation. Best channel, best channel for channel for best people, best members, best people, and everything. That's why Nate's here. Nate's here because of Orville Nation. So,
True.
all right. So they go back to they run back into the school, and they find themselves now they're on a flight, they're on an airline. They're like where are we, like what is this? Oh, this is an ancient this is like an ancient plane. And I like how Gordon is very nervous, like I like why do they fly like this? Why are they flying in the turbulence? Who
Yeah, I love the way he
pilots
studies
like
it.
this?
Yeah.
And he literally asked the stewardess, like, if they need any help, if there's any pilots that are having trouble, like I can help. And the stewardess was like, no, everything's fine. Please stay in your seat. There was a moment of catharsis with the stewardess. With the stewardess, where she's like, get back to your seat, because my last flight I took, I felt like I was this is gonna sound petty, but I felt like I was an oppressed individual I felt like I was in school. And the stewardesses are stewardesses are treating you like children and stuff. Like it's like a dictatorship in the plane, despite the fact that you pay a lot of money to ride it and everything. So it was funny because there's more turbulence, more things are happening. Luggage is falling. Like, there's a problem. So they go and they break into the cockpit. Kiali manages to break into the cockpit with the woman. The stewardess is like, get out, you're supposed to be seated, you can't do this. I just like how they all go in, they ignore her, and then Kelly just turns around, just punches her in the face. That was I didn't clap, but I wanted to clap when I saw that. It felt so good. It felt like
I started to think of Airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave Kelly a big round of applause for that. But I just love that scene where just Gordon's like telling like a whole story, like, oh, if they were, he's just telling like a whole story of these airplanes, and I didn't even know that they could withstand a crap ton of lightning before he even said. I guess that's a real fact that they can,
Oh,
which
you
would
didn't
make
know that?
sense.
No, I mean, planes actually get struck by lightning more often than you think. And they're
Yeah,
designed where the
yeah.
lightning will hit either the nose or the tail, run through the body of the plane and out the other side.
I would figure like, because I assumed before like yeah maybe a couple times, but if it's very frequent, then I was seriously underestimating airplanes because I thought they were a lot weaker in terms of like withstanding light. Because I've seen lightning strikes hit pavement and take out chunks of the road. You know, it's crazy how strong they are. So,
Well,
but
the
yeah.
way an airplane is designed, you have the outer hull, then what
Hmm.
is basically kind of like a Faraday cage. Then you have the inside cockpit and pressurized area. So it's
Oh,
that
that's cool.
Faraday cage that runs the electricity through the body without this damaging the plane.
Oh, interesting. Or so Spock would say fascinating.
Yeah, it looks like there's a big storm. There's a big storm over here. I heard thunder just now, so that's why
Uh
I
oh.
muted.
Well, I
And there
thought
was
that was a
lightning
toilet
too.
flushing.
No, yeah,
I
monster.
think
Yeah,
Gordon
there was
might be
a
flying in those clouds.
so they go they go back so they go in the back. Gordon takes over the plane. There's nobody piloting the plane. It made me think of Temple of Doom, where they wake up and they're like, no one's flying the plane, and they're trying to take over the plane. They're trying to land it, and they're like, you know how to fly this, right? And Indy's like, no, do you? So everything's just going wrong. Like the engine goes out. They're losing altitude. They have to land they land on a
Oh,
mountain.
before that, Ed's eyes glazed over.
Oh, because
Yeah.
he hit something, and then
Yes.
his okay. I missed that. Okay, so they they end up it ends up the plane ends up stopping right next to a cliff, and there was a point where it looked like it was going to dip, so
Yeah.
they had to get to the they had to
The
get to the
part where
back.
Gordon was saying like we're low on fuel really reminded me of Spaceballs for some reason. Why? Because we're out of gas.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd also like to say about that whole plane sequence.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to ask like Tom or Seth on Twitter or whatever. But it looks to me like they used that whole sequence was using practical and CGI effects
It's
because
really cool how they mixed the two.
when that plane was sliding and they had like a long shot of this plane sliding across the snow, that was real. It looked like a model.
I'll have to rewatch that. And all right,
They do
yeah,
that
that
a
did look
lot.
real.
They did that in the episode in season 2, I believe, where Ed meets the Krill lady again, whose name escapes me, and they both were
To
trapped,
lay out.
stranded on that. Yeah, they were both stranded on that planet. And
Hmm.
when they get rescued by the Orville shuttle, if you look at the backdrop, they do this a lot. They just use real sets and they put topple CGI on top of it. It's a very smart thing to do. It's what more shows should do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look at Terminator 2. All that was practical plus CGI effects used together so well that you can put it on the screen today and it still hold up.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
even flew a helicopter underneath a an overpass. I mean, that was not safe. Cameron took a lot of risks. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
and did you know when T the 2000 when he was being frozen and his legs and arms broke off? That was actually an actor who was an amputee.
Holy shit!
That's insane.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Wow.
Yeah, the craziest practical thing I can think of in Transformers is that pass underneath the bridge. Not Transformers. Terminator, when they're underneath the bridge, when they have the semi
yeah.
and the bikes, and they're all like crashing. Like that was really risky, but they did it, and that's what makes this movie awesome.
Yeah. So
So
we're
that's what makes the Orville awesome too.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I totally agree with that. So let's go back. So where were we at? So
So they're at the part where they're falling off the cliff, and
yeah,
now they have to make a way out of there.
and they leave the plane. So they leave the plane and they end up in this room. They're in this red glowing room, very dark, very slightly ominous. You're like, okay, something. What's here? What's here?
What did you guys
And
think it was at first? I thought it was like the Orville's bridge or something, or the whole corridors at Red Alert.
or maybe they were in this secret area that that they're being held in. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. So
I was
so
thinking maybe this was the aliens who were messing with them. That's what I was thinking.
yes, yeah. That's kind of where I was thinking too. So Gordon and Ed, they basically share that they had similar feelings, you know, with their eyes, the feeling like this out of body experience, and then their eyes, you know, glazing over like that. They felt like they were somewhere else. And then we find out they get to this room and there's these floating pods. There are these floating pods, and Bortus reveals that this is a Mocklin morgue, and it's supposed to be containing the dead. And
And this
it's
is where you were saying it was very Ridley Scott for like
yeah,
aliens.
they were playing like that Ridley that alien that upbeat alien thing beat boop
Yeah,
beat
I could see
boop
that.
Yeah.
beat, you know that's what made me think. So I said, it literally says sounds very alien. So we find out. So Kiali basically sees a console, and doesn't say don't touch, so she touches it, and all the pods open up. They're looking in. There's a bunch of dead Mocklins. Borders finds one, and it's himself. There's one of himself in the pod. He looks at himself, and then the him his dead self wakes up and starts strangling him, and then he starts getting the eye thing too. And then we find out that it was all in his head, or at least that's what I took away from that. It was actually in his head. Nobody else saw that. It was all in his head, I believe, right?
No, because
No,
Kelly
they saw
and
it.
Oh, they did
Mercer
see it.
was yeah.
They did have to pull the arms apart to save him.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I was doing this and taking notes. I wasn't paying.
It's almost like
complete
that
attention.
episode, and I think it was, Deep Space Nine, where they're all playing that game that Quark's invited these special guests to his bar, and they trapped the entire crew or most of the crew in this game. It's almost like that. They're all
Yeah,
experiencing
with the
this one
best song
hallucinate.
ever to be in Star Trek. Cameray, 1, 2, 3, Cameray, come with me.
I have to watch that one again. What was that? That was from season what? Season 3?
No, I think that's for season 1.
Season one.
Oh,
Season
season
one.
1.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Season 1, I do believe, was episode 3.
What was it called?
Oh,
I thought episode 3 was past prologue. That was one with the Duras sisters and the Bajoran terrorist dude and Garrick.
was it episode 3 or episode 4?
Maybe it was episode 4.
Yeah.
A new hope, Deep Space Nine. Nope.
But it's definitely like that, where they're all experiencing this weird hallucination or whatever you want to call it together, and then we all do find out in the end what it really is.
Klobby
Far
had
away
spoken.
from Far Away Home.
Far Away Home. Bad episode.
Far Away Home. Yeah.
Klobby says it's
Bad
bad. It must be
episode.
bad. Everybody subscribe to Clobbering Times. He does the Saturday night Star Trek with R.M. Briggs, and they're both really they both lead really good discussions on track. Check them out. All right. Back to this. So okay, so they help Bortus, and they help Bortus. And then all of a sudden a door materializes just like right in front of them. There's just like a door starts. A door appears, and they walk towards the door, and there's a descending stairwell, and it's a creepy wooden stairwell that looks like something out of a horror movie. Like you don't want to go down the stairs, you don't want to go up the stairs, you don't know what horrors are awaiting you. That was what I was thinking.
Well, what do you guys think? Because they never went through it. So what do you think was behind that door? If you had to guess, it had to do with one of the, because everything was dealing with one of the crew, the away team, and the last one was on Zalea. So that was for.
Yeah,
forgetting.
we're not that far yet.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they didn't go through that door.
I jumped ahead.
But they went through the door out because there was a door that appears in the morgue. There was a door
Right.
that appears in the morgue, and that leads.
My
to
bad.
a
I thought that was
stairwell.
after the morgue.
Yeah, and then what's funny is that we don't see this. We see we see a destination. We see a light at the end, but it just cuts to them on Salea. So they're back in what looks like the woods, but it's not quite the woods. It looks a little bit different. And they're by a lake, and we find out that this lake is on Salea. And they're like, well, now we know that this is not real, because if this was really Salea, we would be dead. We would be crushed because of the gravity. So
Yeah, I knew it was Soleil as soon as they showed the sky, 2 moons and the rings.
yeah, exactly. So they're walking along the shore, and they find a raft, and they see, oh, before they find the raft, they see these lights flashing. They're like, okay, is this Morse code? What is this? Are they is this alien or whoever's responsible signaling them? Is it a trap? Well, they find this raft, and they decide to go, and they decide to go forth. So Bortus and Ed are left behind because their recent attacks. So Kelly, Tala, and Gordon take the raft. They start paddling, and all of a sudden there's this evil giant sea octopus kraken creature, Chilean kraken creature that attacks, that pulls Kelly into the water, and it's holding Kelly, and then Kelly starts having that near death, or that not near death, excuse me, that eye experience, that out of body experience. Her eyes start to glaze too. I don't know. I think and Tala claims that hers were like that too. We'll get back to that. So they get rescued. They she gets freed. They get back to the shore. They tell Ed what happened, and all of a sudden, this rock path appears, and then we see this door. We just see a door. It just looked like a door to nowhere. And they're like, "We're not playing your effing game anymore. Screw you. We're not doing this. This is bull." I think Ed says this is bullshit.
No,
So
he says either let us go or kill us, but we're not playing your bullshit games anymore.
yeah,
That was a
exactly.
good
Okay.
that was a good speech from him, by the way.
So they go the other way. They go up the mountain, and they hear this. They go up the mountain, and they're hiking. They're hiking, and they hear they pick up a signal, like a, what was it, a holographic signal, or they were picking some sort of, they were picking up some sort of signature,
Energy signature.
energy signature in a cave. So they go to the cave, and they find this device that they scan. It's protected by a shield. Bortus disables the shield, and Ed takes the weapon and blows it up, and then all of a sudden, the simulation is gone. It's back to Desert Planet. It's back to Desert Planet. They're right by their shuttle, so they go back to they're like, okay, they contact the ship. Lamar answers. They're like, oh, good, we're back. It's over. We can go back to the ship. So they take the shuttle. They go back to the ship. They contact Admiral Halsey. But before we even get that far, I kind of skipped. I think they discontinued. Lamar. So they sent Isaac, Finn, and the security detail down to the planet to investigate what's going on, and they can't figure out what happened. They're completely stumped. So instead of looking further into the planet, Lamar orders them back up to the ship so that they don't lose them. So that happened earlier. So now that Ed and the rest of them are out of this simulation, they go back to the ship and they contact Admiral Halsey. They take some of the parts of that generator with them, and they identify it as Kalon. It's a Kalon design. So what's the first thing they do? They have to contact Admiral Halsey to find out, what they should do, further instructions, because this could be a big thing. Now the Kalon not only want to destroy us physically, but they perhaps want to take over our sense of reality too. The whole idea of using holographic and was it neurological scans to make you
Yeah.
think that you're there.
It's like playing with somebody's reality, and
Yeah.
they're all worried that this is the next Kalon weapon that they're going to use against them.
And for a second, I'm like, I'm like, holy crap, this is getting interesting. Like, well, this is what the Kalon are doing now. Where's this going to go? And they contact Admiral Halsey. Admiral Halsey's like, we're going to send a convoy. We're going to send a science ship with a convoy, I believe, the USS Franklin. And this next scene that we see that the ship, the convoy arrives,
Which is
and
so
they're like,
sick, by the way. I love the formation.
yes, it was pretty cool. It was cool seeing
And I
other
love those heavy. I
ships.
wish we would see more of those heavy cruisers. I like their design.
I want to see them upgraded eventually to that heavy carrier. Like the USS Orville becomes one giant heavy carrier one of these days. That would be cool.
Now the Orville's supposed to be just like a mid. It's supposed to be a mid ship, right? It's not supposed to be like
Yes,
Yeah.
mid-level ship that makes it in our Navy terms a frigate.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
And
So-
Star Trek did have those kinds of ships. It's just in Star Trek's case, they were a lot more maneuverable.
Mhm.
So in this show, I'm getting the sense of more like Star Wars, how bigger ships move slowly. They're more like Navy boats, so they have to turn and aim. They're not really maneuverable like the Orville is. That's why they have those
yeah,
ships.
the Orville is almost as maneuverable as a fighter, like the way
Let me
it moves in
almost. It
space.
is. I mean, that man hugged a donkey with the Orville.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I have
true.
to say, Gordon
I want
Malloy
to
is
see
the
that
best
again.
pilot in
I want
science
to see
fiction.
that again. Yes. I want to see him and Tom Paris team up.
Paris,
They'd cross
Paris can hold
universes.
Paris can hold Gordon's beer while he showed him how it's done.
Yeah. Oh no, he's way better than Tom Paris.
I can see that. I can see where you're coming from with that. So back to so they're on the bridge. We see the convoy come. Looks pretty cool. And Isaac says those are not Union ships. Those are actually Kalon ships in disguise. And Bortus is like, no, they're Union ships. And then of course Charlie has to bark in again and say, what are you trying to do? You trying to deceive us? How do we know that they haven't taken over you? So we get to see a little bit more of Charlie being insufferable in this episode. And then we find out that the ships are actually Kalon, and they start attacking. And the Orville, they're trying so hard to maneuver and they can't. And it gets to a point where they're completely surrounded, and one of the Kalon ships is about to nosedive right into the bridge, and then it just stops.
Really cool shot, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like, holy crap. Wow. And then they're like this, and then everything else, the entire
Bortus's-
simulation was frozen.
I love
And-
Bortus's reaction. He's just like slowly putting his hands down. He's
Yes.
like, oh, okay, it was fake.
So we find, and then it cuts back to well, I don't think it was here, but it was before that. It cuts back to the other Orville, because we find out that they're not actually on the Orville, that they're still in this simulation, they're still in this game, they're still in this experiment.
God's
We'll get
sandbox,
to that.
whatever you want to call it.
So we find out that Kiali was not ever on the ship. Kiali was actually she was still at the rendezvous point. So the Kiali that came on board in the beginning of the episode was not her.
It's a fake.
It was like Commodore Mendez in the Menagerie. You think he's with Kirk the whole time, but at the end of the episode he vanishes.
Yeah.
And then we find out that he was actually an illusion created by
Good
the
comparison
from Talos.
Yeah.
So it kind of made me think of that a little bit.
This is the part of the episode that tripped me out, because I'm like, well, they didn't. She wasn't aboard, so who did they take? So now we have an imposter. Who is the imposter? It's the last question on our minds.
At first, when we saw that Kiali was still waiting for him, I was like, well, maybe it is a Kalon. Maybe the Kalon can put on a holographic disguise.
Yeah.
I thought it was a time loop. I'll be honest. I thought it was like a temporal anomaly that they encountered or something that caused we see another version of Kiali, like something out of Back to the Future. And I have to address this because I got another super chat from Orville Nation for $2 whole. So we've discovered an almost Q-like character. Perfect segue into this next part.
Yeah.
So we find out that the Tala that's with Ed and the rest of them is actually what was her name? She is actually one of the species from the episode Mad Idolatry. So they managed to evolve. They managed to take control of their evolution, and they evolved into beings beyond
Mortality.
humanity.
This is all
Mortality. They're
thanks to
like they're
Isaac, by the way. This is all thanks to Isaac. If he didn't spend those 600 years, was it with them, he wouldn't have advanced them so
700.
quickly. 700, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that? Oh, is that? Oh, that's what happened. Oh, I have to watch Man Idolatry again. Oh, it's just like how the Doctor spent like 700, like hundreds of years with the similar planet in Voyager. They did something similar with the Doctor. Okay, so, but yeah, it made me think of the just idea of them evolving beyond everybody else. It made me think of the Organians because we learned
Yeah,
about
but
the
Yeah.
here's
Organians
the
and the Earth
thing.
of
She said it
Mercy.
wasn't. She said when he said you evolved more, and she says, evolving. That's just a pedestrian idea. They basically genetically and mentally engineered themselves to what they are,
Yeah,
to
they
becoming
they
immortal.
enhance the tools of what evolution is. So
Yeah,
basically, evolution is what they're saying is sloppy. They managed to
random,
make it more efficient. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
gave
took
themselves
the
immortality.
yeah, they
and they wouldn't
literally.
have
So
been
they
able
literally
to
took.
like all those tools that they used to figure all that stuff out. Though, we have to think this is how awesome Isaac is. They wouldn't have had all this stuff if it wasn't for his guidance. But what he really said in that episode was he didn't really have to guide them. He just had to point the way, and then they all just did it. They all did it by themselves. Is pretty much the cool part about that species. And they're it's interesting that Orville Nation says like they're almost like a Q-like species because that's exactly the
Yeah, that's
idea
what I
I was
said. But I saw
getting.
it too. I said
Yeah,
they finally got their cue.
they finally got a Q. But the cool
Yeah,
thing about this is that we're gonna miss that snarky behavior that we got from John Delancey. But this is what's cool is that this is bigger maybe than the Q Continuum. True, we've never seen the Q Continuum, but we've always seen that there is a civil war there. There's maybe not too many of them. There's like a handful, like maybe 100, and that's it. This is like a giant civilization of Q-like beings, which is really cool.
Who
yeah,
are very bored.
Yeah, who are very
yeah.
bored.
So
Yes.
so this whole situation was basically them. They discovered the key to immortality, just like Qui-Gon Jinn. They discovered the key to immortality, and they don't know what it's like to feel like you're going to die or to feel that out of body experience. Hence, they put this experiment together
Which
to
makes
to
sense for all the
to
things that Finn had said earlier about this being a very invasive scan, and
yes,
that all leads up to like okay, so they were scanning the moment of death, the moment of fear that they would have. That it's interesting that they like Gordon even asks when you get to it, he asks like, why would you want to feel this pain or this kind of feeling? Why would you want it?
hmm and they wanted to learn. So we find out that that Ed and the rest of them were basically in a science experiment. So almost kind of like where Silence is Least with what was his name? I can't think of his name. The creature from that TNG episode. Um, I can't think of that creature.
Nagilum.
Nagilum, yeah, Nagilum. It made me think a little bit of that, and I think there was a few other episodes. There was a Voyager episode called Scientific Method that did something kind
Also
of
a
similar.
little Trelane.
Trelane, yeah, Squire of Gothos wanted to study. He wanted to study. As he said, he was playing. He was only playing, studying
And
his
Trelane
dragons.
was technically the proto Q.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people should try that.
My dear. Okay, he
Yeah.
doesn't say that. He's like, oh, Captain Kirk. I'm General Trelane, retired, sir. Okay. I loved William Campbell's performance was super duper memorable in that episode. But yeah, we find out that Tala is this Q character. I forget what her name is. I wrote it down.
Does anybody in the chat remember her name?
Danelle.
Okay.
And she looks like she looks like someone from Tron. They made her look like a Tron.
Yeah.
They
love
made
it.
her look like someone that lives in the Tron world, which I thought was pretty cool. It's funny that they bring in someone from that looks like a Tron because Bruce Boxleitner is going to be in a future episode of the
I
Orville.
can't wait. I can't
So-
wait.
And that's the one where they're being chased in like this weird
Like underground
Planet
city.
City.
It's so
this-
cool.
So I
I
can't wait
think they're on Krill.
I think-
That's
oh,
the
yeah.
that's they on the Krill homeworld.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
because it did look very green, I believe. Because when you think Krill in this series,
And don't
you
forget,
think
it's very
green.
dark in that
Mhm,
shot too,
yeah.
and they like the dark. They don't really like to come out in light.
Yeah, they got
Space
yeah,
vampires.
yeah, black
Well,
black.
the Krill orbit, the orbit of the sun, they don't rotate this way and then go around the sun. They rotate this way and go around the sun. So one side is always darkness.
Completely, yeah, perpetual
Wow,
darkness.
it's like living underground. It's man.
Yeah,
You wonder how they can even see
perpetual
anything.
darkness. That's probably why they're so moody.
You wonder how they can even see anything at that point. But
Well, their eyesight probably developed that you can see better in the dark than they can in the light.
yeah,
That's true. Yeah, your eyes eventually do adapt to the darkness.
So yeah, so so we find out that Danelle is responsible for everything, and it wasn't a simulation. She literally created real, like little micro universes. At least that's how
Which
she
was
put it.
awesome.
Yeah,
So those were all real. Everything they experienced was real. So
but they were no real danger because she controlled the moment of their death.
Yeah, exactly.
She
She
like
controlled
freezes it.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so we find out, yeah, like I said, they were from mad idolatry. You know, the people worshiping Kelly, and yeah, like they said, they wanted to learn about mortality. And Ed. You know, Ed did the comparison to, you know, human beings, you know, testing animals in labs and stuff. Like it was wrong then, it was wrong now. I was like, yeah, I know, allegory. I get it. Trek
But do you think
classic
that
Trek
he's
was like
right?
that too.
Do you think that they should have still, even with her response to that, do you think she's right? I don't know. It's a difficult question because it's almost like they snatched them without their permission just so they're willing to feel what they feel. I mean, if they had just asked the union if you have anyone who wants to volunteer, and I'm sure there
Yeah,
would be hundreds willing
yeah.
to volunteer.
Nobody would appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
because it threw them for a loop. A lot of them could have died from the sheer panic, and she couldn't have controlled that.
yeah. I
True.
mean, you have to be. I mean, that's why going on to the universe, you got to be the best of the best of the best, and you can't be like this whiny. It's not teenagers in
Yeah.
space New
Oh,
Trek
can I
is.
just say, I love the new addition to the crew. I forget her name.
Charlie.
But she was
Charlie?
Charlie, but she was a little bit more annoying in this episode when
But
Isaac
Lamar
proposed it.
put
But I
the
understand.
Lamar put
It's
the
just,
kibosh
yeah.
on that. He acted like he
Yeah.
acted more like a captain than Strange New Worlds Pike has ever done yet.
Oh, of course, yeah. And the thing is, like, I understand why, and they're trying to make her annoying, which is the thing that's cool. She's not just naturally annoying like most of the characters we find on New Trek now. That
Yeah,
she was
exactly.
given a role because you can understand why she might be saying something so dumb like that is because she has an animosity towards Isaac. But if I have to say, if they got out of that situation and it was real, that proves Isaac's trust, and that maybe would have reinstated something within her to trust him,
Yeah.
maybe welcome him a little bit.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Unfortunately,
Yep, wasn't real.
That wasn't the real Charlie, and that wasn't the real Isaac.
Yeah.
The first one was real though, where Isaac makes a comment about
Sending another
sending.
away
Yes,
team now.
it's like we value life more than your people do, because all Isaac was saying was we don't want to send them down there because same thing could happen to them. So
Yeah.
that's basically when I was just like, I'm like, shut up, Charlie, just shut up. Just shut up.
but I also like what this lady is saying, how she's describing how she's able to make these micro universes is as simple as blinking. I love that description. It's just so easy for them to do that they can just create it and stop it.
Mhm.
Yeah, but they're really cool. They reminded me, I'm sure, like Q, definitely more Q, but they remind me more of a powerful, take it or leave it, they remind me of a more powerful version of the Traveler within TNG.
Yeah. With more, because their technology is now integrated into their DNA. That's why they look the way they do. So they don't build spaceships or transporters or anything.
They are the ship.
They are the technology. And what they think they can create, just like their replicators can create food or drink, what they think they can replicate it.
Yeah, I thought a little. I actually, Mark, do with you see. I actually thought of this when Charlie was, you know, talking her shit. I was just like, I actually thought of, you know, the scene from Balance of Terror with Kirk and Lieutenant Styles. So yeah,
Yes.
you know, ask
It was a
Mr.
very
Spock.
accurate simulation, call it what you want, very accurate universe that she had created to to have that animosity within Charlie aimed at Isaac, like you'd have to know
Yeah.
every detail of those crew members.
Yeah,
Really
Well,
crazy.
yeah, and that she reads all them. She read all their minds. She created everything from their minds in the database.
Yeah, and she said they'd also been watching them, so
Yeah.
that would do it.
anything you want to add, Mike? You've been pretty silent.
Where you at, Mike?
Yeah, Mikey
I'm
boy,
sorry, I'm
where you
starting
at?
to fall asleep.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I know it's pretty late. So yeah, we're practically at the end of the episode. So the last scene is they're drinking in the galley, and they're talking about mortality, and we find out that Captain Mercer wants to live forever. And I thought the first thing I thought of was Riker says that. Riker says that at the end of Generations.
He's got a very Riker personality.
So I'm curious if this is if this is setting up something bad for Ed, because there's like that
Could be.
rumor that that Ed's potentially going to kick the bucket so that Seth can take to do more projects and not have to worry about acting. That's
I hope not. I mean, at least let
Okay.
him finish this. I want him to finish the show, and whatever the big bang is for the last season, then sure. And I'm hoping, might sound a little hopeful here, but 7 seasons if possible.
yeah. I mean, I put on Twitter. I'm like, hey, Hulu, renew the Orville hashtag. Renew
Sure,
the
do whatever
Orville.
you
So-
want with Ed Mercer, just as long
Yeah.
as we get a proper ending. Yeah.
I mean, what if Seth doesn't want to walk away from the Orville? What if he just wanted to be the writer
Produce.
and be
Yeah.
behind the scene and directing
I hope
and
so.
not be on the screen? He could end up Ed becoming one of these aliens, becoming like them.
or maybe he's just like Commander Sinclair in Babylon 5. Maybe maybe they send him back in time. Maybe he's
It's
actually
so sad to think of these things,
Yeah.
and I feel like we just got this crew,
yeah.
Or
I
maybe
know.
he takes a
But
position
now
at
it's
Union
like it's-
headquarters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could be cool.
Admiral. He becomes Admiral Mercer. So, but yeah, that's the end of the episode. So, just any final thoughts before we conclude? I'll start with Mike, since Mike was silent.
Well, I was still trying to process the episode after watching it and thinking, do I like this episode? Do I hate this episode? And after thinking about it for a few moments, I'm thinking I don't hate it. It's just one of those episodes I want to watch over again, just so I get a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, same here. I'm just curious where I'd rank this episode. Like, was it better than last week's? I definitely didn't like as much as the first episode this season. That episode just blew me away.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of trying to figure out whether one is better. There were very different episodes between this week and last week. I feel the execution was a little bit better in this week's episode than last week's. So about you, Spock?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I wouldn't say this is my favorite episode so far. I think my favorite one would have to be episode 1 for sure, just because of the sheer storytelling in it. I mean, they really present that, and it's depressing story, but they present that really well, and you feel that. With this episode, it's more of like a mystery. You're trying to figure it out the entire time you're watching it. So I enjoy puzzles. I kind of like puzzles. I do definitely agree with Mike. I'm going to have to rewatch this a couple times. And that's the beauty, I think, about shows like this and Star Trek in general. You're able to just rewatch them and catch some things you missed. So, the best thing about sci-fi is if they overwhelm you with some cool knowledge, not just baloney beer commercial acting talent. We actually get some pretty good storytelling here that you have to think about. So I give this episode, if we're going out of 10 here, I give it 9.5 out of 10.
Okay, 9.5 out of 10. What about you, Nate?
I would give it a 10 because to me, it was classic science fiction. It was right up there with the greats. And the best thing about the Orville is its rewatchability. How many times have all of us here on the panel and in the chat have seen season 1 and 2?
100 times.
Several
Or more.
times.
Only twice for
Several
me.
times.
Yeah,
Since
or
since
more.
this whole season took, unfortunately, I can't blame them. It took 3 years to make. I've just been watching first 2 seasons back to back to back to back because they're so rewatchable.
Yeah, me too. But none of the new track, you can say the same thing. You watch them once if you can finish an episode, and
Yeah.
the crew. From episode 1 of season 1, we got to know all the crew, the bridge crew. We knew their names, we knew things about them, we knew their personalities. There's still people on. And how long has Discovery been on? What, four seasons, 5?
Yeah.
Or
Do
seasons.
you
Michael
know?
Burnham. You just call it the
Started
Michael
at the
Burnham
same time
show.
as the Orville season 1.
Yeah. And now, we even know all the bridge crew names?
No.
We know there's a black guy, there's an Asian guy, we don't know their name. There's a dude in a freaking wheelchair, we don't know his name. Timmy.
There's someone in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Only one I'm familiar with besides Michael Burnham is Sark. Doug Jones.
Saru.
That's it.
Yeah.
Saru.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
See, like
Saru-
even his character, they make him.
Tilly, Stamets,
Stamets,
Dr. Culber, Dr. Gay, Dr. Culber.
Stamets, I only remember him because of Star Trek Online, but other than that, I wouldn't have remembered him.
And
But
Tilly.
you're right. Tilly. They just the thing is that's the whole problem with long seasonal story arcs. It should be episodic instead, like what this show is doing.
Yeah. My case, I really like this episode. I was like, where is this going? I would say I'd give it like a 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. I like you guys said, it was very science fiction. I was really impressed with them following up on an episode I never thought they'd follow up on. So, like with all the predictions that I made, I did not think they would ever follow up that mad idolatry of all things. I thought that was
I actually was
I thought that
hoping
was
maybe
a one and done thing.
I thought the union would reach out to them maybe to get some help against the Kalon, but that's not happening.
No.
Well, for me, this reinforces hope for Mike's idea for the episode lasting impressions.
Yeah.
That lady Gordon falls in love with, the hologram from the phone.
Mm-hmm.
We could potentially see a callback to that episode of a descendant of that lady who makes her way on the crew of the Orville. Maybe. It's possible, but it would be a cool love story for Gordon. And from a couple of the Q&As I've heard from them on Instagram, they said that there is going to be a couple love stories this season.
Okay, yeah, but wouldn't that be a little creepy? Like Gordon, like dating this girl and says, "I used to have the hot for your great grandmother."
Well,
it would be kind of unorthodox. Yeah.
It'd be similar to Galaxy's Child when Leia Brahms shows up on the Enterprise and Geordi's expecting the Leia Brahms that he met in the holodeck in Booby Trap, and instead it's a completely different experience of Leia Brahms.
True, and she was not happy with Geordi.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Who is that guy that's messing with my engines and messing with my ship? And you have a hologram of me. Ugh. Yeah, that was Leah Brown. That was Leah Brown's in a nutshell. So,
well, you couldn't blame her,
rewatch
really.
Galaxy's Child, to be honest. I thought you were gonna say Galaxy Quest. I was like, what? What, Mike?
No,
Great
Galaxy's
movie.
Child.
Yeah, Galaxy's
Great
Child.
movie.
So I want to read Mark D with the C's chat that he said this episode was a thumbs up for me. Last week had too many plot holes. Agree with Nate. This was great science fiction. Yep,
of course
I
he
totally
agrees
agree.
with me.
STD had not one good episode yet. Unfortunately, I've watched them all. What's funny was Dave Cullen actually said there was the episode 4 of Strange New Worlds was actually an episode that he really liked. That was the one with the Gorn and stuff. So I watched it. I was just like, eh.
I don't like the Strange New Worlds at all. One, the ship is too fucking big. Pardon my French.
Yes, yeah, it is. And they make fun of you for that too, because I also complain about that, and a lot of Kurtzman fans say, "Oh, you always worry about the stupid tiny little details, like they don't even matter." I'm like, the ship size matters.
Yeah, because why is it still 300 crew members on that ship that's big enough to hold a shopping mall in it? I mean, hell, Pike, you can play football in Pike's quarters.
Yeah, that's my whole argument too with the Discovery ship.
And why Oh, Discovery was even dumber. Remember when they showed the turbo lifts?
Yeah, it looks
I
like a
was like,
freaking
Yeah.
amusement park.
I was like, what the hell is this? This
It's
is
like
this
an
is supposed to be
amusement
Star
park.
Trek, not Doctor Who. It's not bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like,
It's a wrong call for these shows. They should
Yeah,
have started in the future, like 26th,
Yeah, I don't
28th
understand
century.
what. Yeah, they should have just started all these shows. Okay, let me say this about Strange New Worlds. The cast, I like all those actors, and I think they would have been better served being different characters on the Enterprise that's after Picard, not before Kirk.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why they didn't do that. Maybe because they have no faith in.
Oh no, and
And
they've also not that if
they,
that wasn't any worse.
you
Season
know,
3 of Discovery jumps to the 32nd century and completely diminishes the Federation by taking away their warp drive. Oh no,
yeah.
they'll love you to believe that the Federation still exists, but we all know it's dead. And what the heck is Star Trek without Starfleet? You know?
But here's an idea that they could have had. I would take the whole cast from Strange New Worlds and make them a legacy ship. You can even call the show Star Trek Legacy, with being a descendant of Uhura, being a descendant of but I would have made it's about character, not a descendant of Pike, but a descendant of number one.
Ooh, that would be
That'd
cool.
be interesting. So I forget what her race is now. I can't think of it. Illyrians. So Anson Mount would play an Illyrian. Okay.
Yeah. And he would be the great grandson of number one.
That would be that'd be a very interesting idea. It's too bad they didn't decide not to go with that.
Well, because they don't have ideas. They don't have science fiction writers. They have people who used to write for the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah,
I am not
It
joking.
almost felt though that this first episode of Strange New Worlds was like a comeback. They were trying to compete with Mad Idolatry. You know, simply because like they were trying to break the Prime Directive because it's cooler to blend in with the species, but we all know Star Trek is not supposed to do that. And they could have found a more interesting way around that instead of saying, hey, let's beam down and pretend we're just like these people, just like they did in Mad Idolatry, just to fit in, you know? I don't know. It's kind of lame.
And then he's like Clad 2. He's like, come and join our intergalactic community. Okay. That's it. They joined.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they were, their society's been divided. And the way the episode First Contact in TNG stated, that doesn't mean they're ready. Like, he had the conservative security dude who was too afraid to deal with that. And they're like, well, half of our society is like this. We can't possibly go forward yet with the idea of becoming part of an intergalactic community.
Yeah, I mean, these people, they were 1 second away from blowing each other the kingdom come.
Yeah.
And now you want them now you want to bring these people into the United Federation of Planets? Yeah.
Well, that explains why Picard is so dark.
It's unnecessarily dark because dark Star Trek could work, but they don't know how to do it. Who the creative team is, they don't know how to do it. I mean,
well, they don't
it's
even know
possible.
How to write.
I always thought a Quentin Tarantino style Star Trek episode or movie could be interesting.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I mean, they're already doing it. They're already saying the F word in New Trek. And that's
right, but it's kind of cheesy. I don't know how to say it. It doesn't really. You're not convinced by these actors when they curse or say something dumb. It doesn't come off as intense or aggressive.
Spock,
it's just
that's not effing cool, Spock.
I can sum it up.
I can sum it up like this: all the actors on these new tracks talk like they're on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's probably where they get their. That's probably what these writers are doing when they're supposed to be writing. They're, instead of reading science fiction, they're reading Twitter.
Yeah, and I don't mean specifically Quentin Tarantino himself to direct the movie. I mean like in that style of gritty and dark and something where you actually see a phaser shot hit a guy and watch him evaporate rather than them PG-13ing it. Just add a little bit more immersiveness to the story instead of... Because they like to cut... I noticed like the only time we ever get to see some dark stuff is in TNG and maybe like beyond that. But we should... It would add a bit more... Like a rated R Star Trek... obviously a lot of people wouldn't be able to see it, but it could prove to be something interesting. I don't know. We'll never get
Well,
that.
with Quentin Tarantino, you know he's going to put Samuel L. Jackson in there. Be Captain.
Yeah.
I'm tired of these
And I'm tired of like I wouldn't want
space.
like any one thing I think that's a no for Star Trek too is like I don't know, obviously nudity and stuff like that. That's just it's ridiculous, especially in Picard. They have like that giant scene with the Romulan lady and the other guy. I forget his name. They're all like on the Borg cube. It's just like an unnecessary scene. You don't need to see that. In
And
Star Trek,
is brother and sister.
Whatever. It was gross.
Yeah,
I didn't pay attention to the dialogue of that show, but it's always implied that they do stuff like that. You never have to see. And like I guess a better example is Star Trek Into Darkness, and you see that lady just undressed behind Kirk, and she's like, "Can you turn around?" I'm like, "Why was that? Who directed
Turn
this?"
around.
Oh, J.J. Abrams. Makes sense.
Jar Jar Abrams.
J.J. Abrams directed. It was written by Orsi
Yeah.
and Kurtzman.
I just find that stuff cheesy. That I could live without, but a rated R Star Trek could be cool if it's like thought of right and not just unnecessary gore for no reason.
Well, I don't know. Just the idea of a rated R Star Trek makes me cringe. 'Cause that's what they're trying to do, and like I said, it's what they're trying.
Well, they're
to do.
doing a
They're
bad
trying
job
to-
of it. That's not like I get what you
but
mean.
I just
though.
don't think it belongs in general. I heard the F word. I'm like, really? They're trying to be like Game of Thrones now. with
I think
this
right now we need a
edgy-
break from it because they ruined that idea for us. So right now we need traditional Star Trek, and then maybe eventually there could be some cool experimentation if it's done by the proper people.
Yeah.
I mean, people with actual talent.
People who are actually passionate about the subject and like
Yeah.
Star Trek.
I mean, how in God's name do you put a man like Alex Kurtzman in charge of television Star Trek, who says out of his mouth, "I was never a Star Trek fan"? He said these words. I was more of a Star Wars guy. I was never really that much of a Star Trek fan. And you
Yeah.
put him in charge of Star Trek.
Well, neither
Yes.
was Nicholas Myers or Harv Bennett, but they actually took the time to study the material so they could give us the Wrath of Khan. I mean, same with Michael Piller. He
Yeah.
wasn't a fan
Yeah,
of
that's exactly what I
Star
mean.
Trek.
We need people who are passionate about it, even if they've never seen it before. They take that time, just if they're thinking about their job or just if they love the art, they take their time to watch the show so they understand what they have to direct.
Yeah,
You know,
and yeah,
not just
better-
make something out of their butt.
Yeah, and yeah, better. They just had better management. There's better accountability then.
Because you can tell just from the Discovery first season, you can tell that they're not genuine fans, the writers, because, like Mark said, the schematics have they never seen blueprints before. These ships, like you brought up, Nate, are gigantic. When if you'd seen
Only
the
on the
show,
side.
yeah, and if you'd seen the original series, you know the Constitution is not that big.
Exactly.
The Constitution is the size of a battleship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So I guess this concludes. This concludes this stream. Nate, thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. I mean, even though I'm going to have to go to bed and get up in a couple of hours to go to work, but I'll have fun.
Well, I really really appreciate the sacrifice for this stream.
Well, like I said, I'm
won't
here all by
forget it.
myself.
There you go. And Mike and Spock, thanks for joining
Of
this
course,
week.
buddy. Thanks
Wait
for
a minute.
inviting me.
Thank
Wait a
you.
minute. Mike and Spock. Mikey Spock.
Oh no! No! But yeah. So you have anything you want to plug, Nate, before we go?
No, but just be on the lookout on my Twitter because I'm working on a video right now, and I hope to have it up very, very, very soon.
Okay, so everybody, I have in the link in the description. Follow Nate Knows on Twitter, and you will not be disappointed. What about you, Mike? Don't you have a channel? Didn't you just celebrate a milestone? 200 sub sandwiches.
Yes, I do want to thank Spock for sending out that tweet. Thank you very much, brother. I really
Of course,
appreciate it. And also, Brian, I need to thank you. You've been in my corner since we met over a year ago, and I really appreciate all your support that you've given me. And thank you, brother.
I do it for selfish reasons, Mike. I do it to make myself feel better because I like to spread virtue, just like all those people on Twitter. You know, that's me. That's me. That's who I am. So, but yeah, Mike, congratulations. You have your pop talks. You have your um, uh, season box. I can't. I'm sorry.
The box
I'm
score,
terrible.
although that's kind of taken a hiatus because of the way the team's been playing.
Yeah. And then of course you have your own Orville reactions. You watch the episode in real
Yeah, I
time.
do my live reaction. I gave a short little review tonight, non spoiler, but I do plan on uploading my spoiler review of this episode. So
Okay, well, everybody check out Mike's little review that he did and his reaction. Because I'll be honest, I was watching him watch episode 2 the day after we all saw it, and seeing his reaction to the alien on the guy's face, and he turns into one of them. He's like, "Oh my gosh!" I love that. Mike's reaction was priceless. But yeah, what about you, Spock? Don't you play games? Don't you play games with
I play some
other
games.
people?
Yeah, I play a couple games. One or 200 games. Yeah. But yeah, this Friday, make sure to stop by. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard, 9 p.m. Eastern. We are playing Star Trek Online. Every Friday. Usually, sometimes I'll take a Friday off if there's nothing happening on that game because some events tend to drag on. But looking forward soon, there's going to be a summer event for Star Trek Online, and they announced that the new ship is going to be the Jellyfish from Encounter at Farpoint. So you captains can all fly that around and shoot some lasers out of that. Whatever you guys want to do with the Jellyfish
You get
is
to shoot
yours.
Farpoint Station. Take out those. Or
You
not
can even
Farpoint
do
Station,
that.
Take out the Bandy City. Screw those
Because
Bandy.
the fun thing about this is it's going to be free if you just do the daily progress. You can even miss a couple days, it's fine. The event goes on for a while. If you just complete the progress, you can claim the ship for free at the end and fly that baby around. So
Yeah, but
make sure to
will they
stop
have
on by.
Grappler Zorn?
They might have
Michael
grapplers
Bell.
on. They haven't announced all of it. They've shown the ship, and they usually do tend to give new apparel while that is happening in the game. So
Oh,
they might
I
give Grappler Zorn outfits.
I can't remember the actor's name, but the actor who played Grappler Zorn was
Michael
also
Bell.
the voice of Duke in G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he was
Duke
voice actor.
Sideswipe.
Oh, that's cool.
I think he was in everything. He was in Transformers. He was in
Yeah,
G.I.
he
Yeah.
even
Joe.
at one point he actually did the voice of Shaggy in Scooby Doo too.
Really? After Casey Kasem. Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Because he can actually sound very much like Casey Kasem.
Okay.
That's
He
cool.
does sound like him. We did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. I could get that. I could get a Shaggy impression out of that. Okay.
But
All right.
also,
Nothing
last bit
wrong,
of news. You guys are gonna see your fellow admiral here on my second episode for the episodic series, and possibly a returning character who is going to be constant within the story. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And buddy, I was going to send you the script a couple days ago, and I totally forgot, but I am sending it to you right now.
Okay. Nice. Can't wait. Been practicing my voice acting chops whenever I read dialogue from a video game stream. So, speaking of video games, I was going to ask: has there been any news about the new Star Trek Telltale series, the one with Spock?
No
Spock and everything?
new. Not really. Just the
Well,
release date is coming out this. I forget when the release date is actually. It's
but I
They said
thought the
spring,
Telltale
or-
I thought the Telltale series was being phased out. They wasn't
no. It's
doing any
still
Telltales anymore.
no. It's basically done. They just are waiting on a couple of the rendering. They're finishing
Okay.
up some final levels. And the one thing I did hear, the reason that this is taking a while, the only bit of news I can say about this game that I know of is it's going to be very different from most Telltale games. It's gonna, in terms of mechanics and graphics, it's not gonna be like your casual Back to the Future, Walking Dead Telltale game. You're actually going to, maybe we haven't seen full gameplay yet, but we know you're able to shoot your phaser, like you would in an RPG game. And possibly, if it is shown, we could fly some form of a ship in the game too.
That
But
sounds cool.
the game is based on story and dialogue, so you choose different various types of options, and that chooses a different story for every time you play. So you could keep replaying it and get a different story every time.
Yep, sounds about right. That's a Telltale game. I played Game of Thrones and I played Back to the Future for
I
Yes.
played Batman.
I
Oh,
played
Batman,
Back
yeah,
to the
the
Future.
Walking Dead, yeah.
I have to try the
Right.
Batman one.
On the DC side, I'm a big Batman fan. On the Marvel side, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they have the best rogues galleries.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the best games.
and the best games. Yeah, I love Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
Hmm.
Just we got on the subject of comic books. Thor: Love and Thunder. Everybody, how you think this movie's going to perform at the box office?
It's probably gonna be
Might
successful.
perform okay. Yeah. We'll see.
I'm not interested at all.
I'm not personally interested to see it. I think it should have ended at Endgame. Spider-Man: No Way Home was a good film. I thought that was okay.
That was.
That could have still happened, but yeah,
But
I don't know.
I predict, and I say it right here live. You can dial it down. You can jot it on your calendar. I think Thor: Love and Thunder will be the MCU's first box office flop. That it not only will not underperform, it will actually lose money.
Really?
Oh, we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. People love their Marvel.
They do.
Yeah, they do. The people think it's a machine too big to fail, but the way Disney has been going so far, and the way look at the mental gymnastics just to put Jane Foster in, because Jane Foster in the MCU is not worthy of the hammer. The MCU version of Jane Foster isn't worthy, and they destroy the hammer. So they got to do mental gymnastics to put the hammer back together, and then to get it in her hands.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to end well. To quote Jake Skywalker, this is going to end the way you think.
Go away. Go away. Okay. All right. So on my end, I'm not a whole lot's been going on. I have episode. So I'm preparing for next week's Orville, and I have my special guest star already lined up, and it's this gentleman right here, Mark D with a C, will be the next special guest star on Nerporial Orville After Show. So 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 if there's a reason to come join or come listen to the chats, because Mark D with the C's on, and he's a big Trek fan too. So he's on with Clobberin' times all the time, and he knows his stuff. So I can't wait to have him on stream for the first time. And other than that, I mean, I haven't really planned any other streams other than the Orville streams. And right now I'm playing Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. I'm streaming that. Practically addicted at this point. I just need to grab those shiny moons as Mario and stuff, and they're hidden every nook and cranny in every level. So that's what I'm currently playing. And my next video project is a retrospective on Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. So be aware of that. I'm writing that right now, and that's it's the epic game that really got me into like fantasy, got me into Lord of the Rings, and then later Game of Thrones.
Do you recommend getting them off Epic Games, or is it cool to still play them on like the original N64 and stuff?
Epic Games.
Is that where you said you got the Legend of Zelda game? Like I heard they were doing a couple of remasters and stuff.
No. Nintendo would never allow that. Nintendo only allows their properties on their platforms.
Right.
So if you could play it on Switch, the N64 version on Switch, or they came out with a remake for the 3DS, Ocarina of Time 3D.
Okay.
So you could either play handheld, or you could play it or the original. So, but yeah, I'll
definitely check out that video. I'm about to get into the Ocarina of Time.
It's a very epic game. You meet they say they use quite a bit of like David Lynch's Twin Peaks. The quirkiness of characters from Twin Peaks was
I love that show.
To create characters, create wacky characters in that game. And that's what makes the game so memorable. There's that, and there's a whole lot of other things. So, but that's my current video project, and then after that, I'm going to be doing a review retrospective on the original Planet of the Apes. So be aware of that too. So Charlton Heston, the original Charlton Heston. So damn,
they blew it. You blew it all the way up.
And they watched it. What's funny is that's a science fiction movie in the Orville, and when Gordon is watching that movie with the orange blooded explosive blooded girl. The orange blood comes in contact with the oxygen and it creates an explosive. So I still think they're going to use them. They're going to be. I think they're somehow going to use them as a weapon against the Kalon.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
I
we're
no,
gonna
I think
see.
I think they're going to come up with a computer virus for the Kalon, and then it's going to be a question of morality because they'll be creating genocide by
Yeah,
wiping them out.
So kind of like the Iborg situation where they created that virus, that virus, and
and
they were asking
they're
whether or not
yeah.
that it's right for them to do that, despite the fact
Or
that
even the virus that they created to try to extinguish the changelings, the founders.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing that gets twisted with the Borgs. They are villains. It's not the people, individuals that are the villain. It's the core. It's the thing that's operating them to compel them to do these evil things. That's the villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's same
But
thing with the
even
Kalon.
yeah, but even the Borg, it's not they're not villains. This is what they do.
Mhm.
I mean, destroying
It's in
inhabited
their
planets, I
nature.
would call villainous.
No, but see, that's how they procreate. They don't have babies. They just go to another species and add their
But we've seen
They
people.
did have a
Yeah.
Borg nursery, but that's before they changed it. The Borg kept changing throughout the
Yeah.
series.
I mean,
So-
I feel like the Borg Queen kind of speaks the true intentions, though.
And then they
Yeah.
created
Of
the
the
Borg
Borg.
Queen after the series.
They're not
after
really
the
doing
whole
it simply
series
just in the
ended.
name of procreation. It is simply because they do enjoy the lust of it. It's evil. It's the one thing because Star Trek doesn't have villains, but I would consider the Borg the only one. That's
Well, now the Borg are part of the Federation in Picard. That's how
Oh
Picard.
Jesus
well,
Christ!
they call that an STO. Star Trek Online has something similar. They call that the cooperative. It's not technically the same thing. It's
Okay.
more or less, you know,
Can we
they.
all
like
agree
a
that
branch of
Star
Borg.
Trek?
It's like 7 of 9. You know, a bunch
Yeah.
of them,
Yeah.
like we saw with Hugh, just a bunch of them defected.
Okay. All right.
I
That makes
mean,
sense.
the Star Trek Picard season 1 and season 2 was a waste of film and talent.
Mhm.
Waste of
Season
time
one-
too.
season
They
one's
could
the
have just
worst thing I've
focused on
ever
a
seen
whole
in
new
my
show.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I watched clips of season 2, but I did not watch like full episodes.
I'm not against like an animated show. I think Lower Decks has an interesting style. I just don't like the way it
Oh.
plays out. I don't like the way it plays out at all.
yeah.
Because like
Lower
they
Decks
had
is
it, they
good.
had a '60s animated show that was really good. I liked it, but
Yeah.
I think if it's done in that same way, it could still be pretty good.
Did you guys see the Star Trek Voyager animated?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw
the one
that.
that was
That-
awesome.
They
That
used
was a nice
Threshold.
tribute to.
Yeah.
Threshold. They used the Threshold episode when Janeway gets captured by Frog Tom Paris. Yeah,
It was pretty funny.
I just loved how they. I just love how they did it. It was that animated music and stuff. I
Yeah,
want
they
to
were
see that.
using the animated series
Like
music.
hire those people for crying out loud. They're wasting their times with shows like Picard. They're skipping out on the fans who are actually passionate about this stuff. You know, it's
And I think
ridiculous.
they made another episode. They made a TNG clip of when the
TNG
Borg,
one.
when the
Mhm.
Borg board the ship. And
I'm waiting for a
Festival
Deep
Part-
Space Nine
Worlds
one
Part
though.
1. Yeah, Deep Space Nine. Maybe the Klingon when the Klingons attack. Deep Space
Way of the
Nine,
Warrior.
Way of the Warrior.
Mm.
And we get to see Garrick. We get to see Garrick and Gul Dukat in classic Star Trek animated goodness. I would want to see Garrick.
But
and
whoever's
Gul Dukat
doing that, it
fighting
looks
side by side.
I don't know. It looks maybe digitized, but it looks mainly hand drawn. So that is really crazy. It takes
Yeah.
a lot of time to do that.
So yeah, and then I'm still planning. Oh, I'm also planning Trekporial with. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. My next guest is going to be Baron Orman Tag, and
Woo.
we're going to do something with TOS and Scotty. I'm trying to figure out what exactly we could do. I'm going to probably shy away from the top 5 that I've been doing for like the last, for the first 6 Trekporial episodes I've ever done. I might do something different. I'm talking with I'm talking with someone else who basically wrote his own season 8 of Voyager. He wrote an audio drama. And
Oh, that's cool.
he
That's
sent me his
cool.
thing. I'm going to listen to it, and we're probably going to talk about it. So that's going to be the Trekporial after Baron Tag's one. So
Awesome.
That
Yeah, what
sounds like
happened
a
to
fun
your
one.
tape?
So I asked him, like, is it the same as the books, as the book series? And he's like, no, it's different. It follows up on like what post Deep Space Nine stuff. So I have to listen to it. I can't wait to listen and check it out. And if I really like it, we'll probably discuss that. We'll probably talk about that. So, but yeah, that's what's in the works for me. So, other than
For
that,
the Scotty, you could probably do, I don't know, best moments or something. He's got a lot of cool moments when he kicks the Klingon's butt in the cafeteria.
That's right. That's right.
She should be hauled away as garbage.
Laddie, don't you think you ought to rephrase that? Yeah, that was great. That was great. I love that. So, but yeah, other than that, everybody, have a good night. Thanks for joining. Chat, you guys are awesome. Got DJ Ronnie G, Mark D with a C, Clobbering Times, heck, Orville Nation himself came.
Chat was awesome.
I know Orville Nation can't do these late shows, but he said he's open to making a cameo appearance. So we'll see. You're always welcome to make whatever cameo appearance you want. So, and everybody else, thank you for coming by and have a great night. And I actually made an outro this time. So enjoy this outro.